Hi everyone, this is Greg Viti with Real Estate Legends. I'm so excited to be here today with Jeff Weinberg of Drexel Properties. Jeff and I had a little rehearsal on this, so we're going to try to gift this exactly perfect this time. Jeff, thank you so much for coming to Real Estate Legends. And I believe you definitely are Real Estate Legends. You've proved yourself. And let's talk about your young days. Little Jeff, what was that like?
Little Jeff. So I grew up in Chicago, north side of the city, Peterson Park, 6,000 north, 3,200 west, for those who are, looking at the coordinates.
Exactly.
I'm a Chicago family. My parents were born in Chicago, and actually grew up in the restaurant business. My father and my grandfather were both in the restaurant business, coffee diner shop. So that really sort of shaped me. So you got to bust
tables at a young age?
I never bust tables, but after my junior year of high school, I was a short order cook one summer, so I can make some good scrambled eggs.
Fantastic. Did you do anything like any hostess or hosting or?
Not really. A little bit here and there. I actually here's something interesting. Quality control or making sure that the waitresses weren't stealing. Back in the day, in the diner, they wrote tickets of what the order was, and then at the end of your meal,
right,
they drop the ticket on the table, and you go up to the cash register and pay. My job when I was 6, 7, 8 years old was to sort the tickets and make sure none was missing, because if a ticket was missing, that means that the server took the ticket, took the money. So that was the check and balance.
Numbers.
Yeah, exactly right.
So at a very young age, you were already getting some entrepreneurship going. So
HR it was in the HR business.
So as a child, you went to CPS schools? No.
I did for my through third grade.
Okay.
But I have 2 sisters, an older sister and a younger sister, 2 years older, 3 years younger. When my younger sister hit first grade, I was going into 4th grade. My parents thought, maybe it's a better school than the neighborhood school. So we transferred out of public school, and I went to private school for middle school and high school.
So do you still have a lot of friends and connections from your high school years? Grade school?
I actually do. I have quite a few. I mean, I'd say my close friends are pretty broad, but
people that you can have a longer
exactly
relationship.
Right. Well, interestingly, on my I really have my multiple businesses, but the 2 key ones are property management business and an investment company. And my partner in the investment company, we became friends after college, but we actually went to high school together.
Perfect.
So
did you have an inkling when you were in high school that you'd be this property owner?
Never imagined that I would have ended up where I am.
It's exciting.
It's pretty cool.
So when you got to college, you studied
computer science.
Okay. And what kind of a job were you thinking you were going to, or what kind of career were you looking at with this?
Computers. I was going to do something in computers. I was a programmer.
And what year did you graduate college?
1986.
Okay, so that was a great time to be in computers.
Yep.
And you did land a nice consulting job, right?
Yeah, I worked for a small boutique company that I actually stayed for 11 years out of college. It was a great place to learn a lot of things that were just very esoteric and intangible. But it's probably interesting because at the company, it was a small company. We were a growing company. We worked by contracts. It was a service business. We'd pitch somebody on a computer program, software we're going to write to do something for their business. And when the projects would end, we'd have no work, so we'd go out and then try to find the next business. So, the revenue was up and down and up and down. And I talked to the owner of the company, and I'm like, we need somebody that's doing business development. And the next day,
generation?
So the next day he looks at me and he's like, "Hey Jeff, you alluded to it yesterday, and I want to make a formal offer." I was like, "I didn't allude it. I think I hit you over the head with that."
Basically said, "Man, come on."
Yep. But I have to say, what's interesting is that I'm not a salesman in the true sense of a salesman, meaning picking up the phone and making the phone calls and dialing for dollars. Honestly, that was never me. I was never really great at that. I'm a good negotiator.
You're a great relationship person.
Okay.
People meet you, they like you, they like working around
Right,
you. You have a smile
right.
on your face.
Yeah.
You're not always very, very tough. I think you give people the benefit of a doubt. Well, in those 11 years, while you're doing this other business, did you buy real estate?
In 1991, all my friends, and we started saving up a little bit of money, and my friends started buying condos. I actually had one friend who owned a 3-flat, and I just looked at the notion of buying a condo, a box in the sky. I just needed to own the dirt.
Yeah.
So I bought a 2-flat.
Assessment.
Yeah.
So you did buy a 2-flat.
So
91.
I bought a 2-flat in 91.
So that's how you started getting your feet wet.
That's how I got started.
Mortgage.
Exactly. Then a few years later, I met the woman who would become my wife. We'll call her Susie, and she was not going to move into my apartment. We were not going to buy a condo. We certainly didn't need to rent. So I said, we're going to buy another 2-flat. So we bought another 2-flat. By the way, both of these were in West Lakeview. So 91 and 94 that we bought these. And then in 2008,
you were a pioneer.
I was. I mean, for young people who are listening to this or watching us,
it's hard to believe it, but it's the truth. And even like Lincoln Park had the Latin Kings in it.
Yep.
There was no one wanted to go past Halstead when I got in real estate.
Yep. My first apartment, 1986, 2844 North Sheffield. Wow. It actually sold about 2 years ago, and I called up the person that bought it, and I said, "Can I take a look at it?" And I did. But Sheffield, from Belmont to Fullerton, or really to Diversey, was rough. There was regular gunfire. In 1986.
That's funny that you bring up that block, because
right.
A buddy of mine was very instrumental in that block,
yep.
and he bought that lot from the hospital and got it all rezoned, and then sold it off to different developers. So I just hovered by his office knowing he's got $3 million to spend.
Yeah. Fast forward to 2025, I've got 3 kids in their early to late 20s. I raised them in that neighborhood. Great place to raise a family.
And so you moved into the 2-flat with her, then you renovated eventually the other 2-flat, right?
The first 2-flat I gutted into a single family home.
And so what year was that you moved into that?
That was 1999.
At that point, had you bought any investment properties?
Nope, not till 2002.
Okay, so what was the big change? How did you make the transition from corporate world to what you do today?
I'll name drop a little bit somebody who's no longer with us, but Charlotte Newberger, who was Belliard Gordon, was a family friend really of my wife's family. We had become friends in real estate, and she helped me find the 2-flat that I bought when I got married.
Sweet lady.
And and her partner had an opportunity to buy 2 buildings in Highland Park, and they approached Barbara Zaub, yes. And they approached a few of their friends and me, said, "Hey, we're looking to pool some money together to buy these 2 buildings." And I had been talking with Charlotte for years. We were like, we really should develop one of these buildings, do a condo conversion, and everything seemed to be on a train track. And we're like, is everyone living on a train track? And look, today everyone's living on the train tracks. Anyway, short story is one of the buildings went away. Barbara, Charlotte, and I ended up buying the building, and the whole deal was they wanted me to take care of it, which was fine.
So you got to learn management.
I got to learn management. Yes. In the meantime, won't go through everything with the time, but this was 2002. The .com bubble had just burst. Things weren't really coming together yet. It was tough in the technology world at that point. And when I bought these buildings, literally 3 people approached me and said, "Hey, I heard you bought a building," and they knew I was interested in real estate, and they said, "I'll invest with you." And that was the start.
Fantastic. So now that was 22 years ago, 23 years ago now.
23 years ago.
That's wild. And so in the meantime, you've gone through a lot of changes. What do you feel like you've learned the most about acquiring buildings and stabilizing them and keeping good tenants?
I think it's pretty simple. Service. In an apartment, you've got somebody who's coming home every day and they're renting, so they're expecting that their appliances are working, that the light fixtures are working, that They have security at the building, meaning the doors are locking and the intercoms are working. What has been reinforced as a common thread is it's all about the people, and it's all about the service, and it's all about responsiveness. Even when you can't get to something, to say, hey, I hear you, I'm aware of what's going on, we'll take care of you.
Answer your phone.
Yes.
Number one. Number
Yes.
two, hopefully have reliable people you can call on that you trust to go into someone
Right.
else's home. A lot of people don't understand that. Even if it's a beat up small garden apartment, that's their home. You're walking into someone else's house.
Yeah.
How do you handle them?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you learned how to be gracious. Did you learn like good softwares early on? Were you using your techno background to help you in this management?
Certainly. When I bought my first building, and I was going in the apartments and trying to paint apartments, but I realized quickly I wasn't going to do that. But there were other things that I did a lot of, because if I didn't pay somebody else to do it, I essentially was able to put money in my pocket, and I didn't have money coming in with the first building, right? But the people are critical who are working for you as well.
I tried to get one of your people to show up here to talk, but he's too busy with appointments and was very mad at me. I didn't give him more notice to come and tell him how great you are. So when was the big jump? I know that first it was your portfolio, or it was you and partners, and then you started probably doing more on your own.
Well, yeah, it was always on my own. I want to go back because I realized I didn't answer your question. You asked about technology. When I bought that first building, I knew building systems and having a consistent operation was going to allow me to focus on the tenant, to provide the service. So I instinctively, when I started out, everything that I did from the management of what was being done was all systematized. The world has changed in 23 years from where I started on QuickBooks, then I went to this thing called Tenant Pro, and now I'm on AppFolio. But it was always use technology to get things out of the way so that you could focus on the service, on delivering the result to the tenant.
I felt like when I was managing 40 units, my biggest fear is the money. And I've never been worried about answering the phone, talking to the people, getting the service people. It's the money that made me nervous. So I had an assistant that was fantastic. She put the stuff into a great software so I could actually deliver like the end of the years and all of that, and knew everything was going in the right accounts. And I'm sure you had it down, and I'm sure today you have it down, but it can't be easy.
So at Drexel, our property managers, they're really asset managers. They're looking at the performance of the property. So they have leasing, maintenance, the tenant, really all report to them. Behind that, again, we have really good accounting. We track everything down to the unit number. And people take that for granted, but if you don't have good information, it's tougher to react.
Well, and every day it goes by, and you've got so many different units. I mean, it's confusing. It just builds on you. It could be like a mountain of snow coming on you, an avalanche.
Right, but it also hurts you. I was having a conversation with Jimmy Sarnoff, just talking about property management, and frankly, I was trying to encourage him to give us referrals, and he's like, well, it's tough for me to, like, how often do you have somebody that you're contesting their property taxes and you're trying to get occupancy information and you're trying to get financial information and they can't get it? And they end up losing money because they can't report where they're at to be able to get the best result with the tax assessor. Accounting for what's coming in is a critical component.
It's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential to this. So I imagine in this time you probably never did construction as a kid.
Well, not exactly. But
I'm sure you know a lot about it now.
There's a funny story. We had this rocking chair, and I was really curious how it worked. I think I was 7 years old. So I took the thing apart to see how it worked. And it's one of these things where these like retention springs. So as soon as I took a bolt out, the springs go boing. And there's no way to put that genie back in the bottle, right? And from that point, my dad would say to me, "It's always wonderful how you're putting things back together." So maybe the construction component was always part of it.
But now I would think, if someone asked you, how much does it cost to paint an apartment? How much does it cost to sand some floors? What if you had to do a parapet wall or a back deck or a sewer line or the risers or the horizontals? I mean, all of a sudden, the lintels. You know all about this stuff.
I could tell what it's going to take in terms of cost and time to get things done. But it's more than cost, because another challenge is, we talked about process a minute ago. When you're doing rehab and you open up a wall and you find things that you weren't expecting behind the wall, you have to make decisions on the fly. Project management is so key to keeping things on track, to keeping expenses low, to not having to redo something because you did it wrong. Measure twice, cut once.
That's it.
Which is something that really I learned in my technology services realm, because it was all project management, everything that we did. And you were building computer systems that are intangible, right? You can't see it or touch it.
They got to go 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1.
Right.
You can't go 1 to 3 and then come back to 2.
Exactly. Well, sometimes you can't see it. But the point is that, managing, people think that rehabbing is easy. Well, it makes it easy is that you've got to pay attention to it every single day.
Well, I think making sure the workers are doing the right thing and just showing up a lot. I just did a kitchen job with my daughter, and I felt like Columbo.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Why did you put 8 beams here when I said 4 on either side? Now I have to go buy 4 more beams. Oh,
Right.
It's so strong. Yeah, but that's not what I asked for. And so you learn, who's
Yeah.
really good at what pieces,
Yeah.
who you can use where. So right now, you must have a lot of roofers hitting on you, deck people, alarm places, window places. You just must have a bullseye on you.
You know what the new one is that's interesting? There are scavenger service consolidators. This is the most, I literally got 3 phone calls in the last 10 days from people who want to lower my scavenger service by going to all the scavenger services which to me it's like, well, I know which ones are good, and
so do the electric,
Yeah.
all of these. I have a 4 flat right now, and the guy, he pays all the electric for the whole building, and his bill's about $125. I said, how's that possible? We've been using this company forever, and they do it. You know? So sometimes those are the tricks of the trade that you learn.
Yep.
So where do you see yourself taking this? Maybe you could explain what's going on with Drexel, where your office is, what your mindsets are, and where you see it going to, because I know you're a forward thinker.
We have, in terms of our portfolio, about $100 million of assets, and we're continuing to grow that. And those are generational wealth for my children. I don't know exactly what happens 30 years from now, but so we're going to continue to build our portfolio. Yeah.
Pay your mortgages down. Get to where you can keep more of the
Sure,
profits.
of course. We'll do some consolidation, but we're looking at a couple buildings that we're going to build ground-up development. We're still looking at things
exciting.
that we're going to buy. We have more opportunities in receivership that we're going to see more of, so that'll be a growth opportunity of the business. But the other piece of it is that I have assets that I manage for myself. I have another $80 million of assets that I manage third party for other people. From the management company perspective, I'm 61 years old. I don't want to be 70 years old and walking upstairs or answering a call about a running toilet or having to deal with people's social problems, which a lot of this work has to do with.
It really does.
So,
you're a therapist.
So I did some things right with this management company from day one of how I structured it. I think I got lucky, but it's probably less luck and more just being pragmatic. But I've got a great culture in the company. People really enjoy coming to work.
I could tell that at the MBOA.
And thank you. And but my goal is that the management company could continue without Jeff Weinberg running it every day. So I've spent the last 3 years really building up a team that is more than competent and capable of doing that, and also nurturing them and growing them so that they're in the game, that they own real estate, that they understand it, so they could have, they could think like an owner,
That's
so
so
they could
important.
respond like an owner, because nobody runs it like the owner. You need to have that mentality.
Well, I know some owners that don't run it so well.
Well,
but
sure,
I
but
know you run it really well.
Right, but you understand the point. So the future is to make Drexel Properties a great company, and continue to grow it. It'll stay
He meant
regional.
an even greater company.
An even greater company.
You guys are
there
crushing
you go.
it. I'm
Yeah,
so proud of you the way you're handling these things. God, I hope to sell you something. That's really exciting. You want to grow. That's what it's about.
Right.
So how many people do you have there now?
Well, we have a barbecue at my house every year, and we actually had it this past weekend.
So you have all the vendors and the people?
No, just employees.
Just employees?
Just employees.
Like
Well,
people that
they're-
paint and
they're-
clean and do those kind of
exactly,
things?
yeah. People are regular workers for us. Yeah, yes. And we had, I think, 18 what I'll call employees. Some of these are contractors that were there. There were more because there were spouses, significant others that were there. Even one person brought their son with, 5-year-old son
wonderful.
with, which was sweet. Our whole team is under 30 people.
But it's really a family.
Totally, yeah.
And
It's
how,
both-
how long have they been there? Like, a lot of these people have been there a while?
So it's been a couple years, but this definitely holds. Of the 25 people, if you take away the people who have worked for the company for less than a year, the average tenure is more than 8 years.
Fantastic.
If you go back 5 years, the average tenure is 15 years. So I don't let people go.
So it's really a career for them. It's not a job. You treat them in such a way that they can see that there's growth potential, and they're incentivized, and they understand what you're doing.
I like to think of it as a lifestyle. When people come to work for me, something that I tell them in the interview process, or maybe more on the onboarding process, well, the interview process is, I come second at best. I do not, as your employer, I know I don't come first. You come first. And if you're no good to yourself, if you're no good to your family, you're no good to me. And I think that's really unique in a business.
So you're picking
but
level-headed, smart people. How do you find them?
I nurture the network.
That's so good. I used to just feel their pulse.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need more than a pulse.
You definitely knew more, but I was just trying to get
Yeah,
real estate
yeah.
assistance.
We don't have a perfect track record, and my attitude is that if I hire somebody that's not a good fit, they're not working out, I pay them what I owe them. I pay them right away, and I wish them well.
Fantastic. So, with this current environment that's going on, are you still gung ho? It sounds like you're ready to build some new construction.
So we're talking about Chicago. We're talking about Chicago's future.
Well, just
and,
in general, we got the whole United States. There's a lot of turbulence with the. We just went and bought coffee yesterday, and if my wife wouldn't have had some kind of stickers and stuff, it was going to be $24 for a coffee that we usually get for $8. And I laughed to myself and said, God, thank God I got into real estate and I can make some money. Because if I was in some small little job and everything's going like this, so I think maybe you're thinking differently than the normal person. You've got some assets. The banks will like you. You can show them what you have.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to give you the loan. If the numbers
Right.
make sense on something, why wouldn't you continue, no matter what the climate is?
Right. So I'll answer that question on a few different levels, because I think there's a few different things in there. Locally in Chicago, we have lots of problems. Pensions is an example, huge problems. The Chicago's teachers union, huge problem as it relates to expenses and how they're structured. And
We're number one in property taxes.
There we go. Yeah. Yay.
We're winning.
But without getting political, we've got challenges. Life is hard. In fact, saying life is hard, I think, is redundant.
But we also have multi offers on multifamily properties. And things seem to be selling for more than what we would always thought they were worth.
So let's get to that. So the first thing of this is Chicago has Lake Michigan. We've got great institutions in terms of educational institutions, financial institutions, the
Museums,
arts, right,
sports.
right. Then you could talk about climate. We got a lot of things going for Chicago that are less of an issue. So
Especially September and October.
yeah. So Chicago has some natural assets that we're going to be a great city for a long time, and I don't believe we're ever going to become a Detroit, or
Right.
you know, we're never going to.
There's no way.
You know,
It's so gorgeous here. I just had all these people in town. I showed them off like a tourist guide. They just can't believe how, and all the great restaurants and bars and all the things we have to do.
And truth be told, people are coming back from Florida and Texas to Chicago.
Yeah.
So Chicago's not as bad as you say, and the crime is not like you're hearing on the TV. We have lots of problems.
That being said,
but
West Side, South Side still
exactly
need to get
right. I don't want to discount any of that. But first part of this, Chicago is a great city. I'm betting on Chicago. Nationally, and what's going on in the world, and I've been around a long time. And part of me says, we've been here before. It feels really desperate, but we've been here before. Human beings are nasty creatures. Also incredible,
look at all
beautiful
the history,
creatures. Also, we'll park that where it is. I think now locally, when we're talking real estate in the Chicago market, I think that you made your comment about multiple offers because there's nothing available. I have
low inventory.
I have not ever seen this in the 23 years like I've seen it in the last year. I put an apartment on the market and we get inundated with people who want to come and see it. We get multiple applications from people who haven't even seen the unit because they can't find an apartment. There's clearly a shortage of apartments.
Yes.
I think the general disposition of the community and even our older people are realizing that the way out of this is to build. So I think we're going to see the gates open. I don't know how much of a floodgate we're going to have, but I've got a couple ground up development that seem to be moving forward excuse me, without a lot of resistance. There's always some. So we're going to see more building. And now we talk about inflation, which I think we're going to have higher inflation than we've seen in a long time. That's going to continue. It's not going to be like COVID inflation, but we're going to see a higher inflation, which basically says, if you're thinking about building and you have the opportunity, and I could build it in 2025 or I could build it in 2030, it's going to cost me cheaper to build it now, so build it as fast as you can today, because 5 and 10 years from now, it's going to be that much more difficult. And the people who build today have the better odds of winning. So that's where I'm at.
If we could have the whisper to the powers that be, Mayor Johnson, just take off the affordable for 6 months and see what happens. Give us a year. Just take it off for a year, and you're going to see such a flood, and you're going to realize that you're going to have so much more volume. You're going to get more taxes. It's all going to work out. We're going to start seeing a lot more cranes in the sky. People are getting used to these interest rates, and I think they're going to come down some. So I'm glad to hear that you're an optimist on Chicago like I am. I really do feel like we have such a beautiful city. And having that lakefront like that, just look at all the people who have all those boats and everything else.
Yeah.
Are you a boater? What do you do other than sell real estate and play with your kids?
I'm a runner, although I think I'm a retired runner. Last fall I ran my 30th marathon. I thought, okay, it's getting harder. I'm an avid cyclist, and
that's right. You cycle to the office.
And about yes.
How long does that take you?
Oh, it's 3 miles, straight shot. We could have another conversation, talk about infrastructure, bike infrastructure.
Well, that's
in the
what
city.
my friend.
I say it's working out.
I had a friend of mine from Santa Fe come in, and he hadn't been here in 3 years, and he was like, "Wow, all of this bank infrastructure. It's so safe. It's so nice." I said, "It is. I still like riding on the on the lakefront much better."
Well, interesting. I ride from 1,300 to 4,000 on Belmont. I live on Melrose Street. My office is on Melrose Street. 3.4 miles apart. I've been riding that stretch of Belmont Avenue since 2014. There used to be, remember the Riverview overpass at Western? When I started driving there, that was still there. I watched them tear it down. So I went through that transformation, and now they have a bike lane that goes from Southport, where I start, all the way to Milwaukee, which is basically where I end. There's a protected bike lane. The amount of time it takes me to drive has not changed. Very rare occasions are there, a backup because there's, something going on the street. It's the same time it takes me to drive, but now I'm encouraged to ride my bike, and I've actually ridden my bike to work easily 10 times this year. So I'm a supporter of the bike infrastructure.
That's fantastic. So when you take your wife out for a fun night, do you go for music? Do you go for dinner? Do you go on a walk?
All of the above. We've been trying to have that attitude of just say yes. So we've been going out more. We've been going to see jazz music. Went to La Piano a few weeks ago.
Fantastic.
And had dinner and listened to jazz. We're on the Southport corridor, so we've got our favorite restaurants like Coda Vope that we're there.
Yeah, Ballyhoo.
Yep.
They do a really wonderful, and also Crosby's. I imagine you probably like that place.
Yeah, Crosby's is good, casual. We like Sal's.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
so plug Sal's, but I forget it's south of Belmont, but I forget.
Do you guys
which
go out
block
to
it's on.
movies, or do you watch movies inside?
All the above. We're empty nesters, so
That's wild.
we watch a lot of streaming.
That's funny too, because we were not empty nesters, and my younger daughter moved back with us, and I feel so sentimental because I really missed her.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have another shot at a little bit more parenting.
Yeah.
But it's more like friendship parenting. It's a different deal when they get a little older.
COVID sucked.
Yes,
but
it did.
2 of my 3 kids were away at college, and in March of 2020 they were sent home. It was nice, we're at the house, we had to have rules that we'd only order in twice a week because we'd go broke, but it was great.
I felt sorry for my younger one because she's basically stuck for her junior and senior year of high school in a bedroom.
Yep.
And when I think of what hellions myself and my friends were junior, senior year of high school, I just can't imagine that,
Yeah.
I just can't even imagine it.
Yep, but we're survivors.
Do you travel much? Do you guys go out of town ever?
Travel a ton. Love to travel. We're going to New York this weekend. I got my 2 daughters live in New York.
Fantastic.
We're going to Provincetown because we want to go. My son's in Boston at school, but he's gone, so we want to,
Yeah, you got to go encourage him.
Exactly, right. Well, to see him and also see the East. Exactly, right. So, we do a ton of travel.
Do you go to sports events? Like, does your wife like baseball, basketball, football, hockey?
Not. We go to Cubs games because we live basically in Wrigleyville, so it's easy to walk over, and we get invited to a lot of games.
They are so social.
But,
there's nothing like a Cubs day. I'm a Sox fan, but since I was a kid, anytime I would go to a Cubs game, I'd always find a place in the back where everybody's drinking, and who gives a shit about the game? It's really not about the game.
Right, yeah.
Or you're in the bleachers, and you're so drunk, and the sun's just crushing you.
Right.
But what a fun thing to do.
Exactly right. Well, you could walk to Wrigley Field after the first pitch throws out, and you could go to the scalpers on the street, and you could get get seats behind
$5.
Exactly. Well, you're still paying $40-$50.
Well, now you could, but then it was nothing.
But you're on the 100 level, right on the first baseline. So it's all fun.
Okay, well, I don't know. Did we get everything in about Drexel that we should? Folks, it started as Drexel Properties. Oh, yes. I think you have to tell your story of when you first got into it and you bought in the south side and that whole, and how it became Drexel Properties. I feel like that's before we hang up here.
You want the Drexel origin story?
Well, I feel like it's so classic, so they're mostly on the northwest side now, and north side, mostly where you are.
Yep.
But your first major investment property you bought was in Hyde Park.
5219 South Drexel. That was the building I bought with Charlotte and Barbara's.
How many units was that?
20-unit building.
Okay.
I then bought a building, and by the way, I bought that into an entity that I simply called Drexel Properties LLC. It was available. That's what it was called. So the building was Drexel Properties LLC.
It was on Drexel. Made sense.
Right. My middle name is Allen. I came up with the idea Jeffrey Allen Management. Sounds like multiple people. Sounds like almost like a law firm in a way, right?
Yes.
No, so it's established, even
Jeffrey
though it's brand
Allen.
new. Second building I bought was 7919 South Drexel. There's a whole story in and of itself related to that building and the experience of what was there.
How many years was that?
That was 42 units.
Okay, so now you're up to
Big,
62 units.
Yep.
In Hyde Park.
In Hyde Park. Then I partnered with somebody and we bought a few buildings together. One of them was in South Shore on Paxton and 70th. And then I bought a third building. It was 4400 South Drexel. That was a 48-unit building. By the way, all of these buildings after the first one, we did something called Class 9 on them, which is another conversation. But there was a way to make money on the deal. So
explain that real quick, because that's something for the listeners.
So real quickly, Class 9, it exists, but it doesn't work anymore. But basically, what it translated to was I could tear off the roof, put in new windows, and put a new boiler in the building. In 2005, that cost about $150,000. Today, it's about $500,000. But back then, and I would get about a $15,000 break on my property taxes. The way property
for how
taxes,
long?
30 years.
Wow.
So I buy a building at a 7 cap. I fix it up and make it look nice. I do
those
this
things
improvement.
you need a new roof.
Exactly,
you need
right.
those things.
Well, you need them anyway. Plus, they bring down your operating costs on the building from when you bought it. But now I'm getting now if I put them both together and I sell the whole thing, I'm getting a huge return on my initial equity investment, and I'd be in and out in 18 to 24 months.
And so all of these loans you had were non-recourse loans, right?
The very first, the first few years, they were recourse. I was signing on them, yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't had a recourse loan in
And so
17 years.
What happened here with all these buildings on the site? It blew up on you.
Oh, okay. So you're asking a different. So anyway, so I bought the third property. That's where Drexel came from. We started answering the phones, and then we just kind of morphed into Drexel Properties, right? In this time in the South Shore area that I call O'Keefe, which is basically off of 67th, east of Jeffrey, by the golf courses, I just had this vision that I could buy these properties, and the sum of the parts will be more valuable together, right? So I could mass a few hundred units, and then somebody will come and pay a premium for them. What I didn't anticipate was 2008 and everything that came along with it. I had 3 properties that were that were all cross-collateralized in a single loan that was non-recourse with Citibank.
Citibank, that's right.
Citibank was getting out of the business. Citibank was selling all their notes. I saw the notes they were selling from other things that were around, other things that I had, and they couldn't sell this note. It was $7.2 million.
And they were trying to sell for how much?
They were whatever they could get for it, probably 3. I started calling them up. I started going to the people that were note buyers to try to make a deal with them, but they wanted too much. It didn't work.
Yeah, they wanted all the profit.
Yeah, basically, right.
If we're buying it, we're buying it.
Exactly, right. We don't need you.
Right. We already do this.
So I started calling up Citibank, who laughed at me. It's like, we're going to sell you your debt back at a discount.
Well, why not? You'll sell it to a stranger. At least we're running it.
Well, so basically for 2 years, I was like, look, they're going to buy it for 25 cents on the dollar.
Are you still
I'll
paying?
buy it for. Yeah, I'm still.
So you're not in default. So
no, not in default or anything.
They just wanted it gone.
But they wanted it. They wanted it gone, which I knew, right? So I just for 2 years. For 2 years, I called them up monthly. Are you ready?
You're Michelangelo.
Make sense? Exactly. Right. And eventually, I bought $7.2 million of debt. I bought it back for $5 million.
And that changed the
Fast forward to
trajectory.
2012 when I sold my whole Southside portfolio. I look at it and I outperformed the market by 35%, give or take. I mean, it's anecdotally.
And probably because of that.
Only because of it.
Only because of that. So that is a fantastic story. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I feel like when you live through those hard times where you can hardly sleep, you're just, the banks are on you, it just looks like everything is dark and black. When you survive those things, like what they say, the darker the night, the brighter the star.
Yep.
And that was one of the things that I was thinking when you were talking about this world. I was like, Wayne Dyer always says, we either live in a peaceful, loving place or an evil, vicious place. Which one do you choose?
Right.
Whichever one you choose is what you get. So I'm glad for you that you've been choosing the positive and you've been helping all these people do the same. You've been helping your tenants through it. And I think what we should do in a year or two, we'll have another discussion and we'll see where you've come from here to there.
Nice. Love it. I'd love it.
So folks, this is Greg Viti. I'm going to sign off now with Jeff Weinberg of Drexel Properties. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. This was a ball.
See you soon.